Hello, beloved. Once again, it's time in our week when we take an opportunity to read in a sacred way from a text, looking for ways in which Spirit can speak to our lives, even now, in these days, in these moments. In Latin, we call that sacred reading Lectio Divina, but it doesn't matter so much what you call it as that we learn to anticipate and expect that Spirit can speak into our lives in the ways that can be transformative, can call us out, can remind us of who we are, remind us of what we need to do in our lives. So we look to the sacred text with an anticipation that what we need in this moment, that we might hear it there. We bring ourselves openly to that moment. We try to bring ourselves right where we are in this moment. In other kinds of broadcasts, I have talked a little bit about how we can bring ourselves into the moment by doing things like breathing, like feeling our feet on the ground, our bottoms seated in the chair where we are doing the reading or viewing this moment of sacred reading. But bring yourself to the moment and calm your heart. We've been reading our way through the first letter of John, looking for hints about how we can live it out. I encourage you to practice sacred reading in your own life. I do, as a part perhaps of a regular practice. When you do sacred reading on your own, I encourage you to choose a text, to choose a relatively brief text, and to read it aloud to yourself so that you can listen with your whole self to what's being read. Not just with your eyes, but read it aloud and listen for what it may say. Today we're turning our attention to 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 10. We're going to see today what may be spoken into our lives as we read this text together. So listen with me, if you will, for a word from the Lord. My much loved friends, love each other, for love comes from the Great Spirit. All who love have been born of him and know him. Those who do not love do not know him, for the Great Spirit is love. Creator showed his love for us by sending his only Son, who fully represents him, into this world, so that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved Creator, but that he loved us and proved his love by sending his Son to take on himself the burden of our broken ways. When I hear this text, I hear what I think is a really important truth that we forget sometimes as people of faith, particularly those of us who follow the path of Jesus. And that is the measure of our lives is not some kind of behavioral code, a moral code, if you will. It is love. And those that love know God. And those that don't love don't know God. Now, it seems very broad when I was listening to that. It suddenly made me realize that love needs to be much bigger than I even imagined it to be. Have you ever thought about how big love is? I know I periodically talk about it as the very fabric of our entire universe, but when I think about it, when you love, and it appears to be everything, that's a measure of how much you know God. So the less you love, if you're only able to love, if I'm only able to love people like me, or people who like me, are people who are near me, are people who are from the same place I am, are of the same religion. If those are the only people I love, that's a limit. And my God is not very big. And my measure is anything I don't love measures how little I know of God. I don't think this was meant to really be a measure, but it tells me if I can love all, then I know God. If I can't love all yet, I've still got a ways to go. And if I try to convince myself that even loving a couple means I know God, I might be selling myself a little short, and I might certainly be selling what God is calling me to a little short. I'm called to love the people who agree with me and disagree with me, who love me and don't love me. I don't get a pass in any of those details. And I don't know about you, that's a real challenge for me. That's a real challenge for me. I want to love. I want to love unconditionally. But probably without knowing it, I sneak in my own conditions about love into almost any relationship. And this is just a reminder that love is something we do with abandon, openness, without limit and condition. That's what we're invited to do. That's what the text tells us is the measure of how well we might know God. To love everything that God loves and everyone that God loves is to truly be about God's work. And to not love everything God loves and everyone God loves is perhaps to be a little off base. Those are my thoughts. Those are what rose for me as I listened to the text today. Remember, you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you already are. And try to live recognizing your own preciousness, that the divine love for you is unconditional, and we are meant to mirror that in the way that we love everything else. Maybe you found something different in the text. I encourage you to share that in the comments. If you want to, what you heard, what word spoke to you, what phrase spoke to you, what image arose for you. I'm always interested to hear those things. And as always, if you'd rather not share it publicly, but you'd love to engage me in some way, you're welcome to email me and share your thoughts. And if you're interested in a response, I certainly will do that. But the most important thing is to listen for Spirit. Listen for Spirit, not only in the sacred text, but in all of your life. Until the next time, I wish you all the best.